school ages. And now I'd like to introduce Donna Darmody. She is the Director of Health, Education, and Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Coordinator at Roger Williams University. Hi.
Hi, Molly.
Donna,
Hi.
so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So thank you for joining us in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. You're a certified wellness professional with the National Wellness Institute, and you also hold a certification in chemical dependency from Roger Williams University. So I told you I have a lot of expertise in the studio today, so I really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be here.
So we're going to continue this conversation. We just spoke about young adults, and now we're going to be talking about adults involved in kind of the university level, so 18, 19, 20, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of experience with this. I read over 25 years experience in higher education.
Yes.
So you deliver and train others on brief alcohol skills interventions with college students basics. So I kind of want to talk about that more down the road. But you have just a tremendous background when it comes to dealing with health and wellness, substance and alcohol in higher education. So let's just start off with your thoughts on the recent Penn State tragedy.
Yeah, I was going to start off by saying that it's unfortunate that I'm talking here after such a tragic event. 19-year-old Timothy, he had the world in front of him. And I think what happens is there's so many factors that went into that in looking at it, it was almost like a perfect storm. And to take one reason and say that's why it happened, no one helped, he shouldn't have been there, is to really not look at the whole picture. And the whole picture is the view that really will give you the truth. Drinking has changed over time since I was in college in the 70s. I mean, it wasn't unheard of that you would have a keg party. And that keg would be brought in on a Friday night, and it would be placed in the resident hall, and you would drink. Of course, the drinking age then was 18. What's happened, though, if you look at the liquor industry also influencing this, is that there's been a real push for advertising hard alcohol. And a lot of the hard alcohol is now packaged in a way that's sweet. You have wine coolers. So there has been a move from drinking beer to drinking hard alcohol. And they're of a different nature, each one. So when I hear about the gauntlet that they were involved in, and it's vodka that they were being asked, not that doing a beer is any different, but the way alcohol is processed in the body, vodka is much more lethal being taken in such a quick period of time. So we have the choice of alcohol being changed. Then the drinking age went back to 21, so now it's the forbidden fruit. And there's also the belief that more is better. If I feel this good after a few, wow, I'm going to feel even better when I have 2 or 3. Or I'm 18 years old, I want to go out, I want to party, I know I'm not going to get served at the bar. Why don't I just have 5 or 6 right now, and then I'll be set, for the whole night. And so the other thing I think that went on with Penn State, so there's that. The other thing that went on with Penn State also was they had been held responsible for an injury that had happened in the fall of 2016. My understanding is there was another pledger who had fallen and hit his head. Now, no one called 911, but the brothers, the pledge brothers, they actually brought this young man to the hospital. So now they've already come up to authorities as, something else happens, you're going to lose. So there's a fear of having this happen again.
Yeah.
So now there's the fear of getting in trouble that actually played in. And then the last thing is the people around. Regardless of what happened, there were so many other young people around who at any moment could have called 911 or done many things, and none of that happened. So you have the bystander effect. You have the fear of getting in trouble because of a previous incident. You have the amount of alcohol that was purchased. And I think it all came together for this, unfortunately, for this fraternity, and created the tragedy that we're now talking about and seeing.
And you've worked in colleges before. I mean, this is what you do for your... I mean, could this have happened anywhere?
Yes, it doesn't have to happen, and it doesn't have to be a fraternity. It can be a baseball team. It could be the chess club. And activities are great, and I really think that keeps students from being involved. But one of the things we know that drinking is higher the other thing is it's in an area with a athletics department that is well known.
Yeah.
So the risk areas: live in the Northeast, male college student, play on a team, and then number one is pledge of
those are
a
all high
fraternity
risk.
or sorority.
Okay.
Then we know that that's going to be a high risk before they even get to college, if they're going to go into any of those.
Oh, that's interesting.
And about coming into college, one of the things we know data-wise is that the abstainers in high school, before they even get to college, some of them move into drinkers. The drinkers sometimes move into heavy drinking. Drinking rates increase, and it starts at the time of graduation. Now they come before they even get in. And then...
Why is that? Celebrating? They feel like they need to prepare?
I wish I had the answer to that, Molly. Because then I could possibly create the program for post-high school graduates. And,
that's interesting.
I wish I had the answer for a lot of these questions.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a job. In fact, my goal in life has always been...
Put yourself out of work.
Put myself out of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then those first 6 weeks are critical.
Oh, yeah.
Very critical. And so, the only approach that you can take really is to look at the data and then to try to do interventions.
Okay.
And it starts exactly with parents, what was just being talked about. When we do orientation with parents, what I do is I ask them, have you talked to your son or daughter about your expectations regarding how they're going to do academically? For you to pay for them to go to school, what do you expect? Them to go to class? Do you expect B's, C's, do your best? And I would say 85 to 90% will always raise their hand and say, yes, I have sat down and I've talked to my son or daughter about what our expectations are of them academically. If I ask the question, have you had a one-on-one conversation with your son or daughter around alcohol? That number goes down to about 35%.
Interesting, yeah.
So we need to talk to them before they even get here.
So talking to them about alcohol and decision making, alcohol and effects on the body, all of the above?
All of the above. All of the above. And then colleges, if they really are up on prevention theory, can really then take over from there.
Okay.
But if they don't have that foundation, and one of the things that is very popular, or looking at colleges and staying away from colleges that have that party reputation. And, I'm not going to name the colleges that have that you can find that easily. When you go into orientation with your student, ask the people that are giving you the tour, their students, what's the drinking culture like here? Is alcohol mentioned? Is alcohol use mentioned during orientation to parents? Or is it not even brought up?
Oh, so you're saying when you go on the tour, when you're looking at, what about when you're touring college campuses to begin with? I mean, is that something that you want to ask the group
Who's
that you're
giving
going
you the tour when you're with your parent deciding where to go?
That's where you want to go.
Yeah, and ultimately I think it's a student's decision, but I know when my son went to school, I really looked at what was their alcohol policy. Do they have a drug task force? What happens? What happens if they get caught drinking? What happens if they're underage and they get caught drinking? How many people are dedicated to working in this field? So you can choose where your son or daughter goes to school. Have that part of the decision. Sometimes that's not even on the table.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point, is how is the program set up, and what is the school doing to be a part of it? I find it interesting, you say what schools have the party reputation. I went to a school that had a party reputation, but because it had an amazing journalism program, and so everybody's like, oh, you went to there, isn't that a big party school? And my response is, every college can be a party school if you're making the choice to be a partier. Right. That was always my response, because I wanted to make good, healthy choices. You can have fun if you want to have fun, if you're making good decisions. So I find that interesting, because, some schools do have a culture surrounded by it, but, you do have to weigh your decision in it in general, right? Right. So let's talk a little bit about, you are at Roger Williams University. You have some programs that are set up to help students in general. You were talking about what policies if a student is drinking and they're caught. And we were talking about this before. I thought that was an excellent policy Talk to me about that. If a student is in trouble and they need to get help, but they're kind of nervous about getting in trouble.
Okay. So we have several interventions that we do, and you have to look at everything. You have to look at a population intervention, you have to look at an individual population. So I'm going to answer that in two ways.
Sure.
Population-wise, everyone coming in, before they even come into Roger Williams University, they're required to do an online program called Alcohol EDU. That's so we can get the knowledge base equal among everyone. They don't like it. It's 3 hours long. It's the last thing in the world they want to be doing. And I have the unfortunate job of sitting there when they haven't done it on move-in day, and they come in and I say, what about that requirement? Like, oh no. And I'm like, oh, you're going to have to go to the library and get this done before you move in. And they're like, you're kidding me. But then I say, no, I'm only kidding. We're going to give you until the start of classes. So we want them coming in before they even hit the environment with the knowledge about blood alcohol level, how much is one drink, how do you measure your drinks. We throw out whether you're under 21 or under 21 and 18 to 21. We do, when I say throw out, I don't mean we ignore that. We do, under the Drug-Free Workplace Act, really adjudicate for underage drinking. But we know the reality is that a lot of them are.
Yeah.
And so with that,
some people, they're not even graduated until they're 21. You get
right.
college credits in high
right.
school, and you go to college, and
right.
so you're already graduated by the time you're 21. So.
Yeah. And so then after that, when they're there during orientation, well, not during orientation, during that first week, they go to a 2 to 3 hour program where it is addressed. And it's addressed with other issues. It's addressed in connection with sexual assault. It's addressed in a context of this is the community and this is what we expect from the community. At that time, they are told about what we call an amnesty policy. Okay. So even though the rules and regulations are there, we spend a lot of time telling them that the expectation is that you live in a helping community, and when someone's in trouble, regardless of what was involved, you need to call for help. And in so doing, you will not be held accountable on a conduct kind of basis. So we tell them, get rid of the idea you're in trouble. Safety first, protection first. And it will be noted that they were involved in this incident if it was underage drinking, but they won't be adjudicated against it.
Okay.
So that fear of I'm going to get in trouble, I'm going to be fined, I'm going to lose a merit point, all that is, and what we found is when we instituted that, the number of calls that came in from students themselves saying, I need help, my roommate's drunk, tripled.
Wow.
Tripled.
Wow.
Tripled. And then what was a good thing too is our transports for alcohol poisoning tripled, which is kind of a double-edged sword because now we look higher in numbers than schools that don't have an amnesty policy, but we were more concerned with the safety of our students than anything else.
So let's think about that for a minute, because then, so you're taking it upon yourselves as a university, so your numbers are higher, which you always hear about that. Colleges
right.
at certain levels, they don't want to report poor numbers and whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're protecting your students. You're getting them the help so you don't have a case where someone dies of alcohol poisoning
right.
in their dorm and no one did anything about it. Mm-hmm. So you're taking on that responsibility. Can other universities use this as an example? Maybe there are other universities out there. How much of a responsibility is it up to the university to put programs in place like this to protect their students, to save lives?
Yeah, it's mandated by law. Drug and alcohol education is mandated by law by the Drug-Free Workplace Act that you will prevent this kind of thing from doing it. Most of the time, what really kind of drives the prevention is liability.
Yeah.
That's the scariest thing. So if you are not providing education, if you are not enforcing underage drinking, you can be held liable for the damages that a student incurs when they come to your university.
I just remember when I was in college that if there was any drinking, anything found, any problems, there'd be a police officer escorting people out. It wasn't. Wow. Yeah, that's what it was. That was the kind of policies that there were. It wasn't, we're going to get you help first. It was, I mean, that was 10 years ago.
Right.
But it was, so I think moving forward in the progress of we're going to get you help first, safety comes first, that's an important thing that students need to realize.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about when it comes to keeping students out of dangerous situations, and when it comes to the social pressure. How much of that do you see, whether it's dealing with college-age students and on campus, kind of just being part of that group, wanting to look cool, and how much do you see of that when it comes to either drinking or fitting in with a group?
Well, what's funny about that question is that if you were to ask a college student, do you feel pressure from your students, from your peers to drink? They'll look at you and go, absolutely not. That's for high school kids. No one pressured me. So it is there, but it's unconscious. And it's unconscious to the mass, and it's unconscious to the individual. And so it's not like in junior high school and high school where like try this cigarette or here have this beer. There's not a lot of pressure. What the pressure comes from is what everyone wants, which is to fit in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to go to school and I want to go to college, and if you ask students their biggest fear of going to college, they're going to say, do I fit here? Do I fit in here?
Yeah.
And even if they come as abstainers from high school, that unconscious, this is what students do, because the outliers stand out. So even if there is a party and there are maybe 25 or 30% not drinking, it's a large party, what is seen as what is, and what is remembered is the people that were drunk. So I often say to students, you go to a party, there's 100 people there, probably 10 or 15 are going to be staggering. Maybe 20 of them, you're going to tell that they've had a few drinks. The rest of them are doing great. What does everyone say after the party? Everyone got smashed.
Yeah.
And that's not the reality. So that's one analogy. The other thing we do with students is if they are even involved in a minor offense, I train health and wellness educators who are usually junior and senior psych majors. They can really come from any discipline, and I train them to talk to their peers. It's a big difference between me saying, let's talk about drinking, and someone who's a junior and you're a freshman and they're talking about drinking. And that brief alcohol intervention with college students really is based on asking open-ended questions, asking about the scene that they're in, how do they make their decisions, what they can do not to drink. And sometimes it's actually telling students, you know what, if you feel that you can't say no, hold a water bottle and tell people there's vodka in it. That just say no, not everyone can just say no.
Interesting.
That's fine if you have a high self-esteem, but we can't expect that from everyone. Sometimes it's telling the person that is over drinking, look, you have no idea that you've had 12, you think you've had 4. Stop measuring your drinks. If you're drinking beer, put the bottle cap, put it in your pocket, see how many bottle caps are in there, because when you're caught up in the party, it's sometimes really hard to lose track. So there's all kinds of interventions. I really believe that talking after the incident for the minor really helps prevent a future incident. And then for those that abstain, there's a whole other conversation. How are they surviving? What do they do with the drinking that's around them? Do they know that, at least in our school, about 24% of our students say they're abstainers. They're thinking they're the only one.
Yeah.
And then can you provide activities late at night, Friday night, Thursday night? We have something called Roger After Dark, and it starts at 11 o'clock at night, and there's food and there's entertainment, and a lot of students who aren't part of the party scene really gravitate towards that.
That's nice.
program.
So you can be in a healthy environment without feeling like you have to go somewhere and be part of something that you just don't want to be part of.
Yeah.
And you can be able to make healthy choices for yourself and be around people who are doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Be surrounded by your peers. I like that idea. Just kind of as we close things up, Donna, moving forward and you just gave some strategies for students in college who want to make responsible choices when it comes to drinking. If you're in an environment where you see something happening that you don't agree with, that someone is in an unsafe situation, but you feel like you just don't know what to do. If a student is in a situation, what do you suggest? If they feel like pressured that they can't speak out, what do you suggest? I mean, this could arise in any situation with adults. You know, you see someone grabbing for the keys, they've been drinking too much. You see someone that has stumbled and taken a fall, but no one's giving them help. It's hard to speak out. What advice do you have for students or for adults that maybe are put in difficult positions?
You don't always have to be the hero. There are other ways to intervene than directly. And to think that everyone can stop something. So an example, and I'll go back to the Penn State case. My understanding is someone tried to get help and they were pretty much muscled and told not to. And then that person left the party. Once leaving the party, that 911 call could have been made. But maybe they didn't even have the ability to do that. What about pulling a fire alarm in the building?
Yeah, that's
there had to be fire alarms there. I accidentally bumped into the fire alarm, and the fire alarm went off, and here come the fire engines. So at Roger Williams University, we have a bystander program called Green Dot. We talk about it to our incoming freshmen, and then we offer trainings throughout the whole year. We train all of our leaders in it. We've adopted it now, we're going on our 3rd year. My supervisor, Jen Stanley, she really initiated bringing Green Dot to Roger Williams, and it's a specific training on intervening, and it acknowledges that not everyone can be the lifesaver. And we talk about something called the 3 Ds, okay? Direct, you're okay, you directly get involved. Distract.
Oh, okay.
Distract. If, you know, and it's not only with alcohol, it could be, basically the program started as a bystander intervention program against sexual assault.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
so if you see someone in trouble,
you see someone in trouble, you know, and they're at the bar, you go up to your girlfriend and make some excuse about, hey, you got to come back. Remember, we have to go and
my dog's sick or something.
Yeah, you spill a drink. If you see someone put something in someone's drink and you're afraid to go, oh my God, that person just put something in that girl's drink, you walk up and you accidentally spill the drink. So that's a distraction. So it's direct, distract, or delegate. Get someone else to do it. So if I can't do it alone, I look around and go, hey, I'm not going to get involved in that. Maybe all of us together can do something. There had to be other people at that party that had wanted that desire to stop, but they didn't communicate. And what we know is the more people that you have, the less chance that someone's going to intervene.
Yeah.
I mean, we learned that in the 70s with the New York Kitty Genovese, where she was brutally murdered outside an apartment.
And all the people around and
looking out the window.
Yeah. Thank you. This is all excellent, excellent advice. I really appreciate Donna from Roger Williams University. Excellent advice.